Hi friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the part 2 of my series on operation cost of after sales service operation of automobile dealership. In first part of my video, you might have seen the type of costs involved in after sales service of dealership. In second part, we are going to cover how to set the recovery rate of fixed cost as well as how to manage the variable cost. Cost is very important factor in profitability. When you deduct cost from the revenue, then you get margin. So as the cost increases or if it is not controlled properly, it directly affects the profitability. So in this video, I am going to cover the recovery rate of fixed cost. Most of the people feel that fixed cost cannot be managed, but fixed cost can be managed if you properly divide it and set a recovery rate. So stay tuned till the end of my video. You will understand how you can set the recovery cost. In the part 2, now we will understand how to set the recovery rate of fixed cost as well as how to manage the variable cost. Before starting, we will just recap what we learned in part 1 of this video. So in part 1, we understood the establishment cost, which is also known as startup cost. The other cost is operation cost, which is also known as OPEX. Now let us see what comes under establishment cost. When you start a company, what are the things you need to spend upon? So first is infrastructure. The other one is manpower, then stocks, equipment, advertisement, and legal compliances. All these things are properly explained in my first video. In case if you want to know more, then you can refer to the link given in my description. The second cost is operation cost. It covers fixed and variable. So rent and lease, in case the property is rented or on lease, then those expenses comes under operation cost. Then payroll and employees salary. Inventory purchase, whatever lubricant, parts, consumables, whatever we buy for the sale, it comes under inventory purchase. Then comes equipment maintenance, utility bills, advertisement, insurance premium, and administrative expenses. These expenses are further categorized as fixed cost and variable cost. Now let us explore how we are going to manage the recovery of cost. Now the most important is why to fix rate of recovery, why it is required. So before this, I wanted to present you a quote by a famous management guru, James Harrington. What he said, let us understand, which is very important. He says, measurement is the first step that leads to control and eventually to improvement. If you can't measure something, you can't understand it. If you can't understand it, you can't control it. If you can't control it, you can't improve it. So it is very important to fix the rate of recovery. Unless you know how to measure, you cannot improve it. So let us understand in next slide. Before setting up recovery, we will go step by step. So first thing is cost. Cost is like operation cost, fixed cost, variable cost. So we should know what the cost is. Once we know what is the cost, then the next step is cost area, where that cost is being used. Like rent is used for taking bays. We have a working area where we have workshop, bays are there. So that is known as cost area. There we are utilizing the cost. The next is cost distribution. Now we need to distribute that cost for setting up a recovery rate. So there are different parameters where we distribute that cost. After it is distributed, then comes the recovery rate, how much we should put and how to put that cost. Then comes monitoring the recovery. Now let us go one by one of every area. We will choose first the rent. As we have chosen rent as a cost, then the cost area is workshop. So in workshop, we have distributed the different parameters. The cost is distributed among different parameters. So what kind of parameters we are taking for workshop is bay productivity and bays. Then comes vehicle inflow. How many vehicles are reporting to the workshop? So you can distribute it. Then comes working hours. How long the workshop is operating. Now let us take rent management. I have divided it in parameter, then method, purpose, and what kind of action is required. So first we have taken rent per bay. In case if you are paying 10 lakh rupees for the rent and you have 10 bays, so per bay rent is coming almost a lakh of rupees. Divide the rent with total working bays. Whatever bays you have, divide your total rent with those working bays. Make it per day and per month also for better understanding. Why it is required? The purpose is it will help us to understand the productivity cost per bay and will lead to improve it. In case if we increase the productivity from those bays, it will reduce the rent virtually. What kind of action is required? You should utilize the bays properly for higher production. So no dead vehicles in the bay where you are not working and faster movement of the jobs must be there. Then the next is rent per car. You receive a standard capacity is there and the actual reporting of the car is there. So divide the rent with targeted number of cars. What is the standard inflow we expect and the actual number of cars per month what we are receiving. In case if your capacity is 1500 cars per month and you are receiving only 1100 cars in a month, then your rent per car will go high. As you increase your inflow of the cars, then the rent per car will come down. So the purpose is to understand the cost implication on the revenue earned per car. More the car, then rent per car will come down from the part of that revenue. So what action is required? Establish the parameter with business head and follow it up. Whoever is heading the workshop, we need to set up a parameter that what kind of number of cars we require or the from SMR department, how many cars they are supposed to bring. Then the third is rent per hour. We utilize the workshop not for 24 hours. We may utilize it for 8 hours, 9 hours or 10 hours. So divide the rent with total working hours available against the total utilized working hours, daily or monthly to know the ratio. So in case you are having the workshop for 24 hours, but you are using only for 11 hours. So you have to divide the rent with 24 hours as a standard and the actual 11 hours in case if you are utilizing it for 11 hours. What is the purpose? To understand the rent paid for unutilized working hours. Even though you are having 24 hours in hand, you are utilizing it only for 11 hours or 10 hours. So your rent per hour will go high in case if you not utilize it for 24 hours. So to understand the rent paid for unutilized working hours against total utilized working hours, it will help in having extended working hours. You can take a decision. For this action, you require judge the potential business available, productivity of the floor, revenue generated during extended working hours, keep the parameters for business head. Now, I will explain you same in graphical way and with formulas which we are going to use. So the rent is paid even for unutilized bays. So in case if your productivity per bay increases, as the productivity per bay increases, the rent per bay will come down because we are taking productivity per bay as a parameter. So as soon as you increase your productivity per bay, the rent per bay will come down. How we are going to calculate it? So bay utilization ratio is one of the parameter. Productive bay utilize against available bays. If you have 15 bays available and you are using only 10 bays, then your utilization ratio will come down. Then comes rent utilization ratio. Whatever rent you have paid for total bays and rent paid for unutilized bays or utilized bays. So rent of utilized bays divided by rent of total bays. In case if you are utilizing only 10 bays and you are paying 15 lakh rupees for 15 bays, then 10 divided by 15, the rent utilization will come down. You should improve this. Then the bay productivity ratio. Actual car produced from bay divided by standard bay productivity. In case as per manufacturer, your standard bay productivity is 3.5 or 4 and you are producing only 2.5 cars per bay per day, then your bay productivity ratio will come down and it will hit the rent paid per bay. What you are supposed to do? No car should occupy the productive bays without any work. Faster movement of ready cars out and new job cars in the bay. More productivity against each bay will bring down the cost per bay. Rent is paid even if the bays are not utilized, hence bay utilization is very important to improve to reduce the cost per bay. Now the next parameter is car inflow. So rent is paid irrespective of workflow. As rent is a fixed cost, whether you are receiving more car, less cars, you need to pay the same rent. So rent is paid irrespective of workflow. But let us understand then how we can relate it with the car inflow. So as the car inflow increases, your rent per car will come down. Now how we are going to formulate it? The car inflow ratio you need to find out. So actual cars reporting against the standard capacity of the workshop. If your workshop has got a capacity of 1500 cars and you are receiving only 1100 cars, so your car inflow ratio will come down. Standard rent per car. So total rent paid divided by standard capacity of workshop. So in case if you are paying whatever the rent and what is the standard capacity of workshop, if it is 1500, 1600, 1400, so divide your rent. So rent, standard rent per car you will get. Then comes actual rent per car. So total rent whatever you have paid and the actual car reported. If you are paying same rent and then you are receiving less cars, so divide it with the total rent by actual number of cars reported. So you will understand then one is standard rent per car and the other one is actual rent per car. How it will help? Calculate the standard inflow of cars as per capacity. First, you need to calculate the standard inflow of workshop. Ensure that the proper inflow of cars are maintained. It should not come down. Then check the type of cars, jobs reporting to the workshop. Underutilization of workshop will lead to high cost per car and eventually lead to losses. Next parameter is extended working hours. Let us see how by extending the working hours we can manage the rent. Rent is paid for 24 hours for a day, but we are not utilizing the entire workshop for 24 hours. So as the working hour increases, the rent per hour will come down. Let us formulate it. Working hours ratio. Working hours ratio is actual working hours divided by available working hours. So in case if you are using your workshop for 10 hours, 11 hours, then that will be your actual working hours, whereas the available working hours are 24 hours. It will give you working hours ratio. You can understand then how much, what will be your working hours ratio. Then rent per hour. total rent paid for a day divided by available working hours, that is 24 hours. So in case if you divide it with 24 hours, you will get the standard rate rent per hour. Then actual rent per hour is total rent paid for a day divided by actual working hours. In case if you are utilizing the workshop for 10 hours, 11 hours, 8 hours, then divide the day's rent with actual working hours. As you increase your working hours, the rent per hour will come down. How to recover it? Now you understood. In this, you need to manage the additional inflow of cars by extended working hours. You should have the additional inflow of cars, otherwise it will just increase the operation cost. Then check the non-productive hours to set the workshop timing accordingly. In case if you are opening a workshop early or just closing the workshop late, it is not extending the working hours. You should have the proper business during those hours, so you can recover the cost. Workshop timing is directly proportionate to the productivity and inflow of the car. As you increase the workshop timing, you can still increase your productivity as well as inflow of the cars also can be managed. Since rent is paid for total 24 hours for a day and maximum utilization of working hours will reduce the per hour rent for actual hours. All these parameters, three parameters what we discussed earlier, are formulated for an example in my Excel sheet. I will present that Excel sheet to you. You will understand it better. I will show you how the fixed cost like rent and remuneration can be managed. We are giving three examples like improving productivity, inflow and work hours. How it helps us to maintain or manage a fixed cost. Let us take a productivity first. You are paying 7 lakh rupees rent for 15 bays. Standard bay productivity we will take as 3 cars per day per bay. So you are supposed to attend 45 cars or produce 45 cars per day from your 15 bays. It is coming to almost 1170 cars per month. If you maintain the productivity to 3, so you are having standard rent per bay is coming to 46,667 rupees and your standard rent per vehicle for a month is coming to 598 rupees. Now let us change the productivity per bay. In case if the productivity comes down, take it 2.5 cars. So you are attending only 38 cars per day. Your monthly inflow has come down to 975 cars. Your only 13 bays are utilized. 3 bays are not utilized. Your bay utilization percentage has come to 83%. Your standard rent per car was 598 rupees, whereas now you are paying 718 rupees per car and almost 1,16,000 rupees you are paying rent for unutilized bays. In the second case, if you increase the productivity from 2.5 to 3.5, how it helps? Now, the actual reporting of the car has come to 1365, which is almost 117% of your standard inflow. Your bay utilization is all the 100% bays are being utilized. Though the standard rent per bay, what we assumed as per 3 cars per day per bay, it is 598 rupees per vehicle, which has come down to 513 rupees per car rent. So understood how we can manage the fixed cost. If you increase it to 4, you can keep on saving money and managing a fixed cost. Now let us move to the next option, inflow of the car. Here we take it 3 lakh rupees as remuneration, rent is 7 lakh rupees. So total amount is coming, expenses are coming to 10 lakh rupees. Here we are not considering other expenses as remuneration and rent is the highest share in expenses. If you take 1000 cars or 1100 cars per month, then you are spending almost 909 rupees per car expenses just for remuneration and rent. If we suppose to keep revenue per unit at 12,000 rupees per unit, then at 40% of revenue is taken as margin, then you are getting 7,200 rupees margin per car. After margin, you need to reduce your expenses. So gross profit is coming to 6,291. It may look higher, but then we have not considered other expenses into this. Just imagine how the gross profit is getting affected in case if the cars per month or inflow of the car comes down. Now let us take in case if we increase it to 1300 cars. See how it is changed now. Now your total expenses per unit from 900 plus, it has come down to 769 rupees. You can see the rent per car, remuneration per car has come down without even touching the remuneration or rent. How you can manage just by increasing the inflow. So we can manage the fixed cost by properly setting a recovery rate. Now let us move to the third option. We understand we are not paying per hour rent. We are paying for a month, for a years, but per day is coming to 24 hours per day. So if the rent is divided 24 hours per day, then the 7 lakh rupees rent is coming per day at 30 days per month. It is coming to 23,333 rupees per day. And the rent per hour at 24 hours is coming to 970 rupees per hour. We work standard at 8 hours. Now actual rent per hour according to that is coming to 2,917. Now in case if we are working only up to 8 hours, then it will be 2,917. But if we work 11 hours, then the same rent per hour has come down to 2,121 rupees. It means without reducing the rent, the revised rent per hour we have brought down to 2,121 rupees, saving 795 rupees per hour. So when you say that is turn into the profit. So it is very important to manage the fixed cost like this. We discussed the fixed cost, that is rent. Rent and manpower expenses are two highest contributor of cost and both are fixed expenses. So now let us understand how we can manage the manpower expenses. Now let us understand how the manpower setup is there in an organization. We have lower management, then middle management and top management. It is further divided into two, productive manpower and non-productive manpower. Productive manpowers are the manpower which is utilized to generate the business, and non-productive manpower are the support which are supporting to do the business. Now let us understand what affects the manpower cost. Now let us understand what affects the manpower cost. Poor assessment of manpower requirement. If you don't know what kind of manpower, what skill set of manpower is required, In case your assessment skills are poor, then you may land up either high cost or low production of the cars. Next is not maintaining the proper manpower ratio, productive versus non-productive. In case if you increase non-productive manpower higher, if the ratio is disturbed, then it will directly affect the production of the business. It will not generate the business and it will directly affect your profitability. Then not maintaining the share of different manpower as the current and future requirement. In case the workload is going to increase, then with the future assessment, you need to have the manpower because manpower is not can be procured at 11th hour. You need to maintain the proper requirement of manpower for current and future requirements. Then no multitasking or lack of coaching or training. In case if we don't train our people for multitasking, then it becomes a cost to us for every operation. So we need to encourage the multitasking and coaching and training operation. Poor performance management. In case if we don't have proper performance management, then you may not be able to assess the productivity of each manpower and that may land up in a poor assessment of manpower requirement. Now let us go further. Criteria for selection of productive manpower. Let us discuss the criteria for selection of productive manpower, as productive manpower is directly affecting your production and profitability. So what are the parameters for or criteria for selection of productive manpower? The first is total expected throughput of vehicles. How many vehicles or cars you expect to report in the workshop per day, per month. If you don't assess this properly, you will not be able to assess the manpower. The next criteria is type of job expected. Sometimes the workshops are new and the new sale vehicle percentage is higher, then you may get maximum free service cars and less paid service cars. As the workshop gets older, the paid service car, general repair cars and accident repair cars ratio will increase. So you should have a proper assessment depending on the life of the dealership. In case if dealership is very old, then the criteria will be different. Number of working days available. As manpower is distributed among the working days, you should have the proper number of working days available for assessment of the manpower. Skill set required for the job. As the type of job expected in the workshop, in case if you are going to receive major repair cars or major paid service cars, you need to change your manpower criteria accordingly. Or major accident repair cars are going to report, so you should have a proper manpower for catering those cars. Then customer reporting in front office. Whatever numbers are reporting, then you can divide how much time you are going to spend with each customer, what is the desk timing, how much time you are going to spend with the customer for assessment of his requirement. It will help you to assess the front office manpower. Now let us understand the cost implication. Cost of every manpower depends on their experience and the skill set available with them. We will define it with job category, skill set required and cost implications. First category is free services. For free services, the kind of skill set required is semi-skilled people, where the cost implication is low compared to highly skilled people. We don't require very high skilled people for free services. Then is minor paid services. This also can be managed with semi-skilled manpower. Again, the cost implication is low compared to highly skilled manpower. Then is Semi-major paid services. Now the work is little higher. You require a higher skill set. So we will go for skilled manpower. Now the skilled manpower cost will be little higher or higher than the semi-skilled manpower. Then comes major paid services. Major paid services require highly skilled manpower. So as the skill set is higher, the cost of manpower also will be higher compared to other categories of the job. Now let us understand how we are going to balance it. Let us discuss how we are going to balance the manpower cost. The cost of manpower depends on the skill and experience of the manpower. Highly skilled manpower cost you higher, so balancing of the manpower is very important to balance the manpower cost properly. We have divided the job category as free services, major services, semi-major services, and minor services. Let us discuss one by one. We need to analyze the share of different service category cars reporting to the workshop. If you don't analyze it, you will not be able to assess the manpower requirement and the skill set required. Then balance the manpower required to cater those category of jobs to generate the desired revenue. Any imbalance of manpower will have direct effect on productivity and cost. You need to maintain the proper training schedule to upgrade the skill set of manpower by coaching and training of your existing staff, as it will help you to save the manpower cost. Hope you understood how you are going to balance the manpower cost. Now let us move to the next topic. We have discussed how to manage a fixed cost. Now let us move to the next important topic, variable cost. Variable cost is the cost which varies with the business and directly proportionate to the business activity. We will understand what contributes to the variable cost. The major share of variable cost is spares, lubricant, and paint. I am sharing a typical information on how the vehicle inflow impacts the variable cost. As the vehicle reporting goes up or down, it implies to the cost of spares and other consumables also. Let us check in details how to maintain the proper inventory to control the variable cost in next slide. Stock management is very important to maintain the variable cost. There are different type of inventory managements are adopted in industry, like JIT, just in time. It means we only order the required material to produce the desired units. It is possible only in production line and not in after sales service, as we attend different model mix with different age group of the vehicles. Hence, forecasting the required material needs proper inventory planning based on consumption pattern, models, lead time, etc. Let us understand it in detail. Here, the major factor is inventory carrying cost. We have segregated the stock with three different categories as fast moving, slow moving, and non-moving stock. Now the factor having effect on stock management, let us discuss. Lead time. Lead time is known as time taken to procure the part or replenish the stock after placing an order. Then job flow. Type of cars reporting based on model, aging, etc. Seasonal orders. Forecast based on seasonal requirement of parts. Like in rainy season, you require more wiper blades. Like this, seasonal orderings are there. In summer season, you require the parts required for AC system. So seasonal ordering is there where the demand goes up and down. Discontinuation of model. Sometimes manufacturers discontinues the specific model or modify the design. So the stocking of parts required very important while deciding how much stock we should keep. Initial kit. This is normally happens whenever the new model is launched. So manufacturer supplies the initial kit before launching the new model. Sometimes it increases your inventory. Now let us discuss what are the principles of inventory management to maintain the proper inventory. Let us understand the principles of inventory management. Spare parts inventory is categorized in three type of categories: A, B, and C. So ABC analysis and stock management, let us learn. What is A? These are all fast moving and critical items which may affect the day-to-day service needs. Maintaining the inventory of these items are very important for maintaining a healthy business conditions. Then comes category B. These are moderately important spares based on consumption pattern, and inventory can be managed with balanced approach. The last is C. These are the items having lower demand and inventory must be managed with cautious approach. This is the biggest factor. Sometimes we land up in keeping the non-moving stock higher. As the non-moving stock goes up, the inventory carrying cost is also goes up, which affects your fund management. So it is very important to maintain the ABC category properly by proper inventory management. Now the stock management is an indicator of inventory management. What is stock month? Let us understand. Stock month is basically a parameter used to understand the level of inventory carrying cost for a part division. This depends on the lead time and proper ordering method. The equation to measure the stock month is equal to closing stock divided by average sale of last 3 months. So maintaining a stock month less than 1 is taken very healthy for an organization. So in case if you are carrying 1.5 the stock month, it means you are keeping the part which requires for 1.5 month inventory. It increases your inventory cost. So it is very important you need to maintain the stock month less than 1 by properly ordering, setting up a lead time. All these factors are very important. Otherwise, you may land up into higher non-moving stock. The next variable cost is paint material. Paint material is consisting of various tinters, toners, and binders, and need to maintain the inventory based on various shades for the car's reporting. The tinters have shelf life once it is open. Hence, we need to maintain optimum stock. The cost of paint material is also very high. Hence, we need to be careful while maintaining the inventory size. I will share the process how to maintain the inventory. Now we need to divide the inventory in weekly inventory, bi-weekly inventory, and monthly inventory. It is based on we need to check the consumption of last 3 months or the type of shades are reporting and the kind of tinters or binders required. It is a bit complex exercise, but once it is done, then you can save the lot of cost on inventory carrying cost. Check the cost of inventory of every item. Segregate the paint material based on cost and consumption. Set the inventory rack as per analysis. Let us understand how the rack need to be maintained. Once you have assessed the requirement according to the consumption and cost of the material, then segregate the tinters in the storage rack as per the process I am sharing with you. To segregate the paint material, we will use the stocking and labeling method as shown. So we are dividing it in like paint material, inventory label, and how the inventory rack will look alike. So the tinters which you require 12 in a month, we will divide it in weekly inventory. So in case if you find the tinter number is 900, so the label will look like 900 slash W for weekly inventory and quantity 3 for 1 week. It means you need to maintain the stock of 3 instead of stock of 12 for an entire month. So we can check this kind of inventory every Saturday or every weekend to understand how much we require for the next week. The next label will be the tinters which are high cost or low consumption. Then we require it maybe 6 in a month. So we will keep the stock as bi-weekly stock. So the label will be like 905 is the tinter name or number. BW is, it stands for bi-weekly inventory, and you require every 15 days, you require 3 tinters. So whenever you are checking, you need not to check while checking the weekly inventory. You need to check it only on 15th of the month, so you can save your time of checking the entire inventory every day. The next label is tinter which you require very less, means maybe 3 in the entire month. So you need to maintain those tinters as the label given here. Like 910 is the tinter number, M is for month, and 03 means every month you require 3 tinters. To prepare yourself for next month, you need to maintain 3 tinters every month at the end of the month. So you are saving the time of taking a inventory of every tinter every day. So how the rack will look alike? The weekly inventory you will check every Saturday or every weekend or every 7th of the month. When you complete 15 days of the month, then you go for bi-weekly inventory, including weekly inventory. So you are saving time. Again, at the end of the month, you go for weekly inventory, bi-weekly inventory, and monthly inventory. So you are saving your time. Let us understand how the inventory management will help you. Now let us understand the advantages of the inventory management of paint material the way I have shown to you. It will save the inventory taking time as it splits into segments. We are not keeping all the inventory for the entire month. It saves the inventory cost as we are not stocking all the toners or tinters or paint material for entire month. We are only ordering a weekly or bi-weekly inventory. So it saves the inventory cost. It saves the space. We are not unnecessarily stocking the paint material, which will definitely help you in space saving. Review this consumption pattern every 6 months to understand the consumption. It is based on sometime the new shades are being launched or a particular shade is the consumption is going high. So you need to review the consumption pattern every 6 months and you can make particular changes into your inventory management. Hope you understood the inventory management of paint material. Now let us summarize what we learned in part 1 and part 2 of my training session. So the first is establishment cost. We have explained what the establishment cost is. Then operation cost. After that, we learned fixed and variable cost of operation. Then how to set the fixed cost recovery. How to manage variable cost. Hope you understood all these points. For any more clarification, you may comment in the comment box. So I will try to give you the proper answers for the points which you did not understand. From the entire training session, we understood that any cost saving leads to improvement in profitability of your after sales service operation. So penny saved is penny earned. Hope you have enjoyed the training session on improving profitability by proper cost management. Now my next session will be based on resource management. We are provided with different resources to facilitate the business, and if those resources are not used properly, then it affects the profitability of the organization. Let us understand the topic I am going to cover in the presentation. I am going to cover type of resources available, how to measure the resource utilization, what to measure, why to measure. If you like my training session, then subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon to get notified for next session. I'm also sharing the link of previous training sessions so you can keep the continuity. I'm also sharing the link of my WhatsApp channel, which will help you in keeping you update on my new videos if you subscribe. So thank you for watching and see you all in the next session. Thank you.